CBS This Morning is taking a close look at Donald Trump's net worth, both what he says about it and what others have reported. On Monday, we looked at Trump's 2006 lawsuit against a biographer. In a deposition, he was repeatedly questioned about exaggerating his wealth.
And in 2014, Trump said his brand was worth $3.3 billion. But last year, Forbes magazine estimated its value to be far lower, just $125 million. As we've reported, Hillary Clinton is making Trump's financial affairs a focus of her campaign. Donald Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, joins us now, and we're pleased to have him. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Why so many discrepancies about a man's wealth coming from financial institutions who he has applied for credit?
Well, I think what you have to look at when you have Mr. Trump is you have the American success story. You have a person who borrowed $1 million and grew it to a $10 billion corporation or more with some of the most iconic assets in the world that if he were to decide to sell off, it would be many, many, many times more than $10 billion.
The question is not that he has a success story in business. The question is how successful. What he says or what all these financial institutions say?
Well, the success is in properties that he owns and the cash that he has. He had $557 million in income last year. I think by any standards that counts as success. $557 million. He just filed last week the largest personal financial disclosure statement in the history of our country, outlining what those assets are. But here's the problem with the statements. Here's the problem. When you look at Trump Tower, a massive building here in New York, the option is to say it's worth more than $50 million. That's the highest category there is. And if you look at the building directly across the street, it sold for $1.8 billion. So he can't go and say that that building on paper is worth $2 billion or more, which it is. It just says $50 million. That's not a true accounting.
You know this. One way to determine how much your wealth is to release your tax returns.
No, your tax returns on a yearly basis don't tell you what you're worth. What they show is what your income is. And Mr. Trump has already showed what his income is. $557 million last year. He has a massive cash flow. He has very, very little debt, less than 2 or 3% of his overall net worth. He's worth $10 billion. Look at some of the properties that he owns. Doral in Florida, out on the West Coast, here in New York.
How much property he owns. But the question is this. Your tax returns show what you pay in taxes. It shows what you do in
Here's what he said about his taxes. As a businessman, to his family, to his corporation, he is going to pay the smallest amount of taxes possible, which I think the American people also understand. Every deduction possible, he fights for every single dollar. That's the mindset you want to bring to the government.
But no one begrudges that. No one begrudges that.
Everybody
so that's not the
Corey.
issue, how much money he is deducting.
Yes.
That's not the question. The question is transparency on a man who is one of the 2 people most likely to become president.
Well, I think what you also have, and we've been very clear about this, is these taxes are under a routine audit right now. And from every attorney that he has talked to, including people like Greta Van Susteren, said, as your legal counsel, if I were to be your counsel, I would never allow you to release those taxes until the routine IRS audit is done. Now, look, this is a fault of the IRS. Have them go finish the audit. As soon as that audit is done, he'll release his taxes.
But the IRS, Corey, has said that there's nothing.
Well, they said there's no legal obligation.
Yes.
But the difference is when you release them and the IRS has the ability to scrutinize them and everyone else has the ability to scrutinize, you don't know if they're going to change or not. So let the IRS finish their work. As soon as that's done, he said he'll release those taxes.
Within a day?
As soon as it's done.
As his campaign manager, you know that Trump's tax attorney has put out a statement saying that they have been the taxes from 2002 to 2008. The audits are done. It's been cleared. Why not release the tax returns from those dates?
Well, it's like what Bernie Sanders said. There's nothing to see from 2002 and 2003 and 2004. What you guys are interested in right now is what his tax rate is. His tax rate is as low as possible, as many deductions as possible, to build his business so that he can provide jobs for the people in his corporation. So there's no question about it. The issue is all of those other taxes moving forward, which would be relevant right now, are under routine audit. So as soon as that's done, he'll release them.
Corey.
I guess what's the issue is, too, is Trump had been publicly insistent that when Mitt Romney ran for president, that he release his tax returns. He said at the time in an interview, quote, "It's a great thing when you can show that you've been successful and that you've made a lot of money." So is there a concern that Mr. Trump's tax returns will show his income is, in fact, smaller than what he has said publicly?
Absolutely not. And don't forget, Mitt Romney waited till 30 days before the general election to release his taxes. What he released was a summary of his taxes back in February until he was pressured to get them done. And if you remember, Harry Reid went on the Senate floor and basically forced Mitt Romney to release those taxes. Mitt Romney's taxes were not under audit at the time. the information which Mr.
And they
Trump
were
has just
revealing.
released.
And
I
Mr.
understand,
Trump
but
has said
we've
that the
released-
taxes won't show anything. But in Mitt Romney's case, they were incredibly revealing. They showed his lower tax rate. They showed that he had some offshore accounts.
The difference is Mr. Trump is proud to pay a lower tax rate, the lowest tax rate possible.
Then let us know
But
how low it is. We all
it's
want to pay.
under
I want to
audit.
pay a lower tax rate too.
You want to fight
I
for
want to know how
every
he does
dollar.
it.
Okay,
As a
but Mitt
businessman in this
Romney-
country, you need to fight for every dollar so that you can put your money back into the business and create jobs.
Corey,
Isn't it-
speaking of Mitt Romney, Mitt Romney has said it's,
There's a
of course,
bombshell.
there is, in his judgment, something to hide.
Well, Mitt Romney is a failed presidential candidate on two different occasions, as you know. He wanted to get in this race so badly and then realized that he couldn't win again. You know, he had his opportunity to try and set the country right. He disappeared the last 3 weeks of that general election campaign. No one knows where the guy went. He decided to go build a 8-car garage in his Malibu home, you know, while he's running for president, and he hid from his wealth.
But let's
the
take
difference
Mitt
is,
Romney
you
out
know
of
what
it.
Donald Trump does?
Corey,
He embraces it. He
Corey.
says, this is what America can become.
Corey, take Mitt
I
Romney
want you
out
to
of
get
it.
rich.
Take Mitt Romney out of it. People always say people who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. And I think that goes to the question of transparency, number one. Isn't Team Trump asking VP candidates to provide their own tax returns?
Well, we haven't asked that. And to be clear, right, Mr. Trump owns a store on Fifth Avenue worth more than what Mitt Romney's total net worth was. He's very proud of his wealth. The other thing is, we've already showed over 500 business interests, which Mr. Trump has.
Okay.
It's available anywhere you want. $500 million a year in income, great cash flow, very low debt. This is the American success story. I don't know what you think you're going to learn. There's nothing to learn. And as soon as the IRS is done, he'll release those taxes.
When are you hearing that they'll be done?
Well, that's the IRS. You've seen the problems that the IRS is faced with.
But you
So
can
as soon as they're
challenge
done,
that and extend it out for time, can you not, the audit?
well, we haven't asked for any extensions, and just like when it comes to the personal financial disclosure statement, which Mr. Trump is obligated to file,
So-
we've never asked for the
so should
extension.
our
Unlike
question
Bernie
be-
Sanders, who has a one-page document, who has to go and ask for a 30-day extension to get his
So
done.
should we
This
ask
is
the
the different
IRS,
mindset.
when will you finish this audit?
Look, if you can
Because
get the
when you
IRS to
finish
move
the
forward, you're
audit-
better than I am. I'll tell you, you've got more power than I do. That's for certain. If you can get the IRS to move.
But that's a fair question. When are you going to finish the audit? Because Mr. Trump says as soon as the audit is finished, he will release the returns.
Yeah, but the IRS has said an audit does not prevent you from releasing that tax
Well,
return.
but
I
he's
understand,
saying-
but the notion that you're going to release information that's currently under audit, which could change or not change based on the IRS findings, doesn't make any sense. So get the IRS to finish the work. You guys are the investigative journal. You can go get it done, and then Mr. Trump will release those
Can I
taxes.
ask you about a pledge that Trump made publicly to support our veterans? He skipped a debate and said, I'd rather raise money for our veterans. He said it would be $6 million. You said recently that it only netted $4.5 million. We've reached out to many of those people who said they would pledge money. It's less than that. What's the current amount that has been donated to veterans?
Well, it's not less than that. And what we said was by Memorial Day, which is next Monday, all of the money will be distributed. Mr. Trump pledged $1 million that he has donated personally through his personal account, so not through his foundation. And the accounting that has been attributed to that has shown that $4.5 million already has been attributed. So this is going to be somewhere between $5.5 and $6 million total, which will be given to the veterans. And don't forget, this was not an obligation Mr. Trump had. This is something that he did to help the veterans so he could give back.
So to clarify this matter and set it, will Mr. Trump release exactly where he has given that $1 million to, which veterans
I
organization?
mean, I'll ask him to do that, but the bottom line is he's taken $1 million out of his personal account. He's given it to charities that he felt was worthy, and any remaining money will be distributed before Memorial Day.
Where is Team Trump in terms of picking a VP candidate?
Well, look, I think it's fair to say that there's one person on this team who's going to pick the vice presidential candidate, and his name is Donald Trump. And
Well, he
our
has
role,
shared it with you, Corey. You have
Well,
some
look,
idea.
you know what
have
our
some
role
idea
is?
about Steve Martin is in the green room.
Well,
You wanna talk to him?
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Our role is
I mean,
to support.
you have some
So
idea.
who's on the short list?
Yes.
Look,
who's
our
on
role
the
is to
short
support
list?
Mr. Trump.
Who's on the short list?
Yeah, look, here's what he
Senator
said.
Corker on the short list?
Well, we had
Jeff
Mr. Trump had
Sessions
a
on the
great
short list?
conversation with Senator Corker yesterday. They talked foreign policy as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. They understood things where they agreed on many issues moving forward on foreign
Are
policy.
you vetting Senator Corker for a vice presidential possibility?
We
Are
don't
you
say who
vetting
we do or
Senator
don't vet,
Corker?
but here's what the decision comes down to. It's very simple.
Yes.
Mr. Trump is going to pick the person who is best to partner with him to get his legislative agenda done through Congress.
But he has said it'll be someone from Washington, likely, because he wants someone who
Well, I
knows
think
the government and perhaps someone who's been in government,
I
perhaps
think it's someone
in
who
the
has
Congress.
federal elective experience, so they understand how to make sure that they can get his legislative agenda done, which is tax cuts for the middle class, reducing our debt, reducing the burden on our individuals, creating a better economy, renegotiating our bad trade deals.
So that
You
hasn't
need a
changed. He
partner.
wants a political insider still. That
Well, I
has
think
not
you need someone who
changed.
understands the
All right.
way
This is
Washington
already
works.
a nasty campaign.
Yeah.
You
Aren't they
have-
all?
Well,
Aren't they all when it
many
comes
are,
down
but
to
this
it?
seems to take to new depths.
Yeah.
Is he
In terms of
going to go
personal behavior.
deeper in terms of personal character assassination?
What I think
Regardless of who the candidate is,
Here's what you
Republican or
have with Mr.
Democrat.
Trump, and this has been clear from June 16th of last year when he got in the race. When someone attacks Donald Trump, he responds in kind, and maybe times 10. And the difference is he's authentic, he's genuine, and that's what the American people want. So
Has
unlike
Bill
every
Clinton
other
attacked
politician,
Donald Trump? Has Bill
unlike
Clinton
every other
attacked him?
politician in this race, from the Republicans who attacked him to now the Democrats who attack him and saying he's not fit to be the president of the United States, he's not going to let these attacks pass. He's going to engage, and he's going to engage harder than they've ever been used to. And you know what the American people say? We want a fighter. We want someone who's going to stand up for us, not just in this election, but when you're the president of the United States, you're going to put America first for a change. That's what I think the American people want, and that's what Donald Trump brings.
Corey Lewandowski, you've had the last word at the table today. Thank you
you.
very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate your time.